What up? And welcome back to another episode of Gritty Knows Best, baby. That's right. That's right. Now, usually, I'm the big dog in the house today, but we got a bigger dog. We got a bigger boss in the building today. Okay, joining us, we have the winner of last year's Ghost Story of the Year award. I don't know if he knew that, but now he does.
I didn't know that.
He is the owner and the founder of Fright-Rags, the best horror t-shirt company in the game. He is also the only guy walking the planet that is a bigger Halloween fan than me, and that's saying a lot. He is none other than Ben Scrivens.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me back.
Of course, we got to have you back. We had more to talk about, especially this year.
Mm-hmm.
You got Halloween Kills. So you didn't know you were the winner of the Ghost Story of the Year?
No, I didn't.
Everybody
That's
loved
amazing.
the blood on the floor.
That's awesome. Well, I have to say, if I heard that as a story, I'd be like, that's pretty messed up. And it still is messed up, and it happened. So it's crazy.
It's wild. Has there been anything else recently?
Just little things like, I know like Heather and Jess hear things, like someone's in the back room, but no one's in the place. You can hear walking around or like just, and it's weird because the building does settle. It's not, we know the noises that happen when the building moves or whatever. If you walked in and heard that, you'd be like, what's that? And we're like, oh, it's just the building. But then you hear literal footsteps or like things moving around in a room where you're like, no one's here. And you go back there and no one's in the room. And you're like, okay, that's weird.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So nothing crazy, no blood on the floor again.
No, nothing like happened before, like the blood or the screaming we heard or the radio turning on that happened before and change stations and stuff. Nothing like that's happened that I know of, at least that I've been told in recent history, I should say. Got it.
We were going to send you a trophy, but the company card we've been running that company card a little too much lately. So we're probably going to just send you like a piece of paper you get when you graduate, like second grade. We'll probably just send you one of those with some fake blood.
It can be a ghost trophy. It's just invisible. That's all.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. See, now you're saving us money. Look at that. That's why you're the boss, because you know how to save money. We don't. I don't know how to save money. I don't know how to do that at all. So we had to have you back, especially this year, because Halloween Kills came out. It came out this Friday, and it came out on Peacock and also in the theaters. I did not wait to watch it in the theater. I was not doing that. So if you guys want to hear my review, it's on the Gritty Knows Best YouTube channel. But now I got to hear what the biggest Halloween fan in the world has to say about this movie. What did you think?
So, okay. I've seen it twice so far. I saw it in the theater, and I did watch it that night, although it was late, so I was falling asleep. But I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been reading everybody's reviews. Okay, I loved it. However, I had minor gripes with it.
Okay, understandable.
And I've heard this echoed a lot, so you might feel the same way. I don't know, but I love the fact that they brought back original characters like Tommy and Lindsay and Nurse Mary and things like that.
And Lonnie, I didn't expect that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I love that Anthony Michael Hall played him. I love the fact. Okay, so going into this movie, I had already known the story of it. I knew everything that was going to happen, beginning, middle, and end, for the most part. Like the most part. Not, I didn't read the script, but I knew pretty much the major beats of it. Okay,
right.
So I already had a vision in my head, a little bit of what to expect, in addition to knowing that it was just going to be brutal, and it was
crazy. It was crazy.
My gripes with it, I felt like they went a little 0 to 60 with the OG characters, meaning, oh, Michael's back. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. We got to get him. Go get him. Go get him. And it's like, whoa. I get it. You were traumatized 40 years ago. You want to get him now. But it felt like it happened in 3.5 seconds. And I didn't get a feel for those characters before they jumped into, lynch mob mode. Right. And I know the bar scene set it up, but I felt like there could have been just a little bit more setup there. Right. I absolutely love the fact that they addressed the whole point of the 2018, where Laurie thought he was coming after her, but no, he's just an unstoppable killing machine, which they broached on in that movie, but they really kind of hit it home this time, and I like that. Other things about it, I felt the pacing was a little weird at times. I felt like they maybe have spent too much time on some areas, but not enough time in others.
Really?
So it was just a little off for me. However, I also know it's a bridge to the third one. So I kind of go into it going, this is like a middle chunk of a story that was just taken out. Now, granted, it should have a beginning, middle, and an end, and it should be its own thing. But I also feel like when you sandwich, hopefully the third one, all three of them together, it's going to be maybe a little bit more cohesive, or at least maybe they can, smooth out some of the edges from this one. I will say that, and I don't know if this is okay to be spoilery here, but
oh yeah, spoiler away.
I will say that I actually like the fact that most of the original characters got killed.
Right.
I know Lindsay's still alive, but I actually kind of dug that they decided, like, there were stakes in the game. Like, they got killed. They were brought back, which is awesome, and then they got killed. And I'm like, oh, they went there.
When Miriam got killed, that was the best one to me.
What's that?
When Miriam got killed, that was the best one to me. I didn't expect her to die that early.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I kind of dug that they died a little early and almost as like secondary in a way. I mean, they spent a good amount of time, but it almost felt like just dispatched and not like with a lot of fanfare. And I almost kind of like that because it felt almost like, ooh, I didn't expect them to do that. But other than that, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Again, like 2018 was the same way, where I walked out going, okay, I really like that movie, but I had some issues with it. And then I watched it like 20 times, and it's a really rewatchable film. And I'm hoping I love that it's on, Kills is on Peacock now, because I can just literally jump right into watching it again.
Yep.
And I will be doing that a lot more over the next coming weeks. And I feel like I'm going to get to like it more and feel it out more as I just keep watching it. But I mean, I think the original gripes will stay the same. Again, I really felt The Evil Dies Tonight was a cool idea. I just felt it went a little too far in what they were trying to do, pushing that chanting and stuff. And it was a little cringy at times, but overall, it was, I walked out with a smile on my face.
So that's something you thought that they like spent too much time on? Was the lynch mob stuff?
It's hard because again, things felt quick, and then they felt like, I get that the mob wanted to get Michael, but not for nothing. That guy roaming around the hospital was did
not have any resemblance at all.
And I don't care. Yeah, I get it's been 40 years. You might not have seen him. But
no. I didn't forgive that one.
There was no semblance there that could even be remotely.
The guy's probably like 5'2", 5'4".
Yeah. It was just not. Again, the idea behind what they were doing, I thought, was awesome. The mob going after him not being able to be killed. The fact that Laurie was sort of silent. Oh, the other thing I thought too, I have to say. So here's the thing. One of the things I thought they spent too much time on. And again, this might get resolved in the third one, so I am biting my tongue a little bit, because I thought they were trying to shoehorn Hawkins into it a little too much with the backstory or the flashback.
That, what's crazy? I thought you were gonna be more like, oh, I love that aspect of it. I could have left that alone. I could have not. That could have been out of the movie for me.
Yeah, and I love the flashback. Don't get me wrong, but I thought that they kept going back to it and they kept trying to add more story. That he was more in it in this one. And I was sort of like, I love the fact that he came back, but I also didn't mind that he died in that I thought he died in the first one.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, they're trying to craft this story that happened 40 years ago, and they're basically pushing it in here and trying to, but meanwhile, I felt like they should have spent more time on the fact that this mob was getting worked up. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just formalizing these thoughts in my head now as I'm thinking about it, because I'm like, all right, the mob's cool, but I felt that went real quick in 0 to 60 and blah, 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 blah. But then we're trying to like go back 40 years and look at what he did. I also will say this, as much as I do enjoy the brutality of Michael, it did feel like when you saw him in 78 kill that cop, and I was like, but that was more brutal in that moment than he was in the rest of the film of the original. You know what I mean?
In 78?
Yeah, because when he comes out in Judas' room and grabs that cop and starts killing him, I thought, I mean, look, Bob, he stabbed him once and then he just did his head knock. Where this guy, he's like going at him. He was more brutal in the flashback. And I could almost buy it if he got more brutal as he got older and more kills. You know what I mean? The more he kills, the more brutal it gets, I guess. I do miss a quality about it. And again, Kills didn't do this, although I thought 2018 did, is I do miss the stalking quality of him.
That's what I said.
That's a little bit more of the lurking as opposed to him just kind of coming out of the door and grabbing you.
We got it one time for 2 seconds at the park. That's the only time I remember seeing him get any kind of stalking. That was great, but we could have got more of that. So you felt like they could have escalated the mob a little more, which I could see that. I didn't really. I was the 0 to 60 was cool with me, but I could see you wanting to make it like get more of a background on it.
Just not a ton, and we're talking a couple minutes, a few minutes of just establishing Tommy, Marion, and Lindsay a little bit more,
right? Just
a little bit, and then establishing this thing. I just felt like it just went too quick, but yeah, I just feel like that stalking. I would have liked to have seen him.
Yep, that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, is
him being like lurking in the shadows, being in the background. So you think they could have spent more time doing that?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it just to kind of, again, I understand they're taking. I was just thinking about this the other night. I don't know how familiar you are with like Photoshop and graphics and stuff like that. But when you have an image, let's just say it's and I'm digressing, I get it, but like say it's a 400 by 400 pixel image, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are all those pixels lined up, and you have just that amount of information. If you try to blow that up into something bigger, you don't have the information, so you start interpolating the space in between pixels, and it looks all smeary.
Right.
You've ever done that in Photoshop, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can make an image smaller, but you can't make it bigger. The Halloween movie from 1978 is basically an 800 by 800 pixel image. And what they're trying to do is extrapolate all of this stuff from what was never there and adding it into their story and making it bigger. And I don't mind that. I think it's cool, but you're gonna have to take a direction, and it might not match up with that original one, and it's gonna be different. And this new series is, but that's okay. Look at how many sequels there've been.
Right.
You know what I mean? The Thorn stuff, the knee stuff, and then H2O. I mean, so I just look at it as I look at Michael Myers as Batman. You can do so many things with Batman. You can put him in medieval times. You can put him in this, that, and the other. You don't have to like it all, but it's still Batman.
Exactly.
This to me is Michael Myers as Batman, and you take 78 and jump into this. You know what? I'm along for the ride. It really, even with my minor gripes, I'm still sitting there eating my popcorn and cheering.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah. All in all, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The mob scene at the end. What was your favorite scene?
Ooh, my favorite scene. Trying to think. I think the mob. I'd have to say the mob scene at the end and leading into the very end with Karen. I mean, that was pretty dope.
Chilling, man.
Oh man, that was pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it was
standing there ready to kick his ass.
Yeah, that I really liked. And when he sat up, and it was just like, oh, and then he just goes at it.
And let me ask you, because I gave the mob a pass at the end for not like really finishing him off, because I was under the notion like, okay, they think he's a regular guy, and you see a guy get his ass beat like that and get a knife in his back, you think he's dead. But then Sheriff Brackett walks over, and then he's like, doing this whole thing. He doesn't shoot him, and he gets his throat sliced. Do you give him a pass for not really just nailing it home?
I do, and because I agree with you, and I think that was where I did like that. Actually, it's funny because while we were watching it, it was just our crew in the theater because we rented it out, and Kimmy's like, "Is it bad of me for feeling bad for Michael right now?" And I was like, "I kind of do too." And he reaches for his knife, and it's sort of like, "Oh man, he's getting his ass handed to him."
Big time. It was such a good
scene. You said, if you go in with the mentality that they thought he was an actual human being, then which. Again, I don't think matches up with when they say evil dies tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like if they think it's just a person, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. But going back to that moment, listen, the guy just got creamed. And then, letting Karen do the final thing. It's just like, this guy's dead.
Yeah, it's gotta be. He got shot 6 times in the beginning of the fight. So it's like just that alone, they probably would have assumed. So they just totally just hammered it in, Karen gave the last thing, but me and you were like, no, this guy, no, you can't do that. You got to run him over. You got to set him on fire. Back. Yeah. So, we're obviously going to be a little more ready to cut his head off because we've seen him come back from pretty much everything besides getting his head cut off. So you do give him a pass on that. That's good.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely do. I thought that was a very realistic, if you will, moment. I think if they went and really tried to cut him up or do something like that, I felt like it would have gone too far.
And they would have been almost they lost their minds at that point.
Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, exactly. I think that was that would have been.
Maybe if Laurie was there, she would have shot his head off with a shotgun. That's possible.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that could still happen in the third one.
Which is good that she wasn't there because that wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? They still kind of. She's the only one that knows. Obviously, with that speech at the end, that he's a little more than what everybody else thinks he is. Because she's basically explaining it at the end. She's like, "There's no way." So if she was there, it probably would have took a little bit of a different turn. So it's good that she wasn't there.
And we'll see what happens in the third one. Maybe she goes completely crazy on him.
What do you think? Next movie, what's the general feel for how it's gonna go?
I don't know, man. I think I honestly I literally don't know. I think it's obviously it's gonna. What I like about these movies and what I like what they did that was smart is, in all the other ones with that led from the original part two, it was Laurie and Michael as brother and sister. So there was that family element, which I never bought into, even though I love all those movies. What I love about these movies is that there is a family element, but it's the Strode family, not Michael, right? So obviously Karen's dead. I think she will stay dead. I don't think they will bring her back.
I don't think so.
My guess. She was dead, and I think there needs to be those stakes. I think what happens is I love the fact that now you've got Laurie versus Michael because it's really personal this time, if you will, to borrow from Jaws, right? This time it's personal. So it is really going to be Laurie versus Michael, whether Michael knows it or not, right? And I don't know what's going to happen in the movie. I think there's probably going to be a time jump. It won't happen the same night.
It can't be. That'll be really long.
But I think personally, Laurie is going to die, and Allison will be the final girl or woman, if you will, and live on as the legacy of the Strodes. And I think they're going to put, at least in terms of the storyline, I think they're going to put Laurie to rest. I don't think she makes it. And I think that's okay. That's my guess. I literally have no idea. Now, whether or not she comes back in 10 years for another storyline or they do something else, that doesn't matter. These three movies that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are crafting, I think that's going to end her in the storyline. That's my prediction.
From what I gather, from what I think I've read it from a credible source. I don't know. It was a headline, so I didn't even read it. But I read that the guy from Blumhouse is open to doing more, and I'm assuming money talks. They're gonna do more. Whether that means it's gonna be whether that means they're gonna end this trilogy and then do another universe, which would be kind of that would be really cool if they did it like that.
I heard the same thing, and listen. The only thing that will ever kill Michael Myers is bad box office, right? And it has killed him, or at least it's put him to sleep for years, right? I think you're right. Money talks. We will be talking about Michael Myers for a very long time, and there will be more movies, whether it's in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. I don't know. But my thought, and I think this is true, no matter what Blumhouse wants to do, I still think David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are like, we're done here. If you want to continue to make Michael Myers movies, obviously they have to get, there's rights issues and things, but if they're still able to do it, then it will be another team of people. It will be a whole other thing. I don't even know what it is, right. But they will do it completely different. But I will say it's going to be hard to top. Rob Zombie's Halloween's films, love them or hate them, they were a really cool
it's like another universe, like you said. Yeah, it was like a whole different. It was like another piece of Batman.
Because we were, I thought H2O was a really solid film, and then they really followed up with a complete stinker. And then now we are left with a bad taste in our mouth, and we're going, and it really, for me, stained a little bit of H2O, because I'm just like, eh. And then 5 years later, we get this radically different take on Michael, because he's never been quite that brutal.
So cool.
And Rob Zombie, how he does. Whether you love him or hate him, these were two movies that completely ripped out your taste buds because you were just like, holy crap.
Never seen nothing like that.
Right. And so now, you know, so almost 10 years after the fact, 9 years, we got these 3 movies, right? Well, I really think it's going to be really hard to top these. The other thing I will say is that this new Michael, the look has really become one of the iconic looks of Michael Myers next to the original.
Because it's just enough of the original to be the original, but not enough to be the original. Like, it still has its own little tweak, especially in this one. Is that now you got the side burn, which I was like, oh, that's gonna be kind of whack to see him with the burn. But no, I was wrong, way wrong.
It was perfect.
I loved it.
And I think because he is so kind of iconic looking in these films, and the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is back and John Carpenter, I mean, it is just incredible what they were able to do in these films. It's going to be very hard to top. Not that they have to top it, but it's going to be hard to follow that up.
It's going to be ridiculous.
So I think it's going to be a while. I really do. And I think once it comes back, it'll be different. It'll be something new and interesting, hopefully. And hopefully someone who does it is going to really put the care and love into it that these guys did.
Which will be cool, because now it's like, all right, you can end the trilogy. You don't have to continue this. Let's start somewhere new, so we don't really have to be like, you know, dragging this.
We don't want. I don't want it to be in the same universe. I mean, again, I don't know how End is going to end, but I really, if they have it in their minds that these are the next 2 we're going to do, kills and ends, and that's it, then I don't want any more from them after that, because otherwise it feels like it's like a season of TV that went on too long.
I don't want. If they make another one, I would like them to scrap the whole story and go, we're going to do another whole universe.
Exactly.
Still with the same style. But but like you said, I really liked your Batman analogy, because then if you do another one with them, it's still going to look the same, but then it won't be the same. I would want a whole new kind of look, because, you know, every Batman would have a different kind of iteration on the costume and the world. So it'd be interesting to see what a whole new universe,
That's
a whole
exactly
new
right. Like, you got the Christopher Nolan trilogy, which has no impact on, you know, the Batman from the Justice League and Batman versus Superman. But now you've got Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I'm totally excited to see. And so you've got 3 vastly different universes of Batman, but it's still Batman. And granted, Halloween, you're still relying on that same story. So in a sense, you're still relying on the same movie, you know, the original movie. But I still think...
But Batman's, you know, the same stuff happens in the beginning. His parents get killed.
That's
Boom.
true.
You still play off that whole thing in the beginning. Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was cool. I didn't think about this till yesterday. Now, I saw the movie like 3.5 times already, and I'm going to watch it again once we're done. This was the first time that we've seen the original mask since number 2, right? Because they brought it out in the beginning of this one to show 78. I haven't seen like basically the original mask since 2, right?
Correct, because then you would have been 4, 5, and 6, and then H2O, and then so this is the first time you've seen a mask that was at least trying to resemble the original one. And I thought they did a great job with it.
Oh my God, they did a great job. Yeah.
I thought it looked great. When I saw him in those flashbacks, I bought it. I bought that was Michael, and I bought that was Michael from that night. So I was in it.
And what about Donald Pleasance?
Oh,
that was
my God,
crazy. When he came in the house, and I'll tell you right now, I don't know, you can tell me how good you thought it was. But when they do that shot when he first comes in the house, from you're peering down from the perspective of the cop, if you would have told me that they took that scene from the cutting room floor of Halloween 1, I would have believed you. At least that one scene.
I don't know if I might have probably told you this last time, but I was on set for a couple nights on Halloween Kills.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And I was talking to Chris Nelson, who does all the effects and everything, and we were just talking about some stuff, and he pulled out his phone and he showed me a picture of Loomis, and I went, and this is, this was still when they were filming. Nobody knew anything what was going on, and I'm getting chills now. I got chill. I was like, what is that? Like,
right?
What is that? Because I thought it was Donald Pleasance. He's
right.
Like, we're bringing Loomis back. I'm like, whoa, what? And then I heard about the flashback, and I knew what was going to be happening. I was like, what is that like? And he's like, no, it's a prosthetic that we put on this guy. I was like,
oh, that's how they did it. So it was a prosthetic.
He actually just posted on Instagram. He shows the makeup on it, but it was prosthetics. It wasn't CGI.
Well, thanks for enlightening me, because in my mind, I remember when they did it in Fast and Furious. I remember they got Paul Rudd's brother and they CGI. Yeah. So I was like, oh, maybe they got a look-alike and CGI. This is a guy named Tom Jones Jr. who already looks a little like Donald Pleasance, but then they put prosthetics on him.
But he was incredible. Like,
yeah,
the voice, him coming in, the actions that he did, the movements.
It was insane.
I want to see a TV show about Dr. Loomis with that guy and have it be, Loomis Chronicles or something where he goes around or whatever. That's what I want, because that guy was amazing.
You never know. Like, we're talking about universes. Maybe the next universe will be a lot more Loomis instead of it being Laurie. Yeah. And, maybe they kind of end that story in the beginning and he has to track him around.
Gotham with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
we talked about it in the office. I think Tansky mentioned that he's like, they should do like a Gotham type TV show. I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible. Because then you can, it's like the Michael Myers case files. It's almost like the Conjuring with the Warrens, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be dope. I mean, they're bringing Chucky on TV, so why not? They would bring Michael. Yeah. Dude, so you put that to bed. I didn't know that that's how they did it. That's sick. So you were on set, right? And so what? Yeah. Now you can say what you were on set for. What did you see besides that?
So I was there for 2 nights, and I got to see Jamie's first night on set back from 2018, which was amazing. So what I got to see was a lot of the exterior hospital scenes. So when they pull up in the truck and they get her on the gurney, and they actually came up with that thing of having the camera on her while they wheeled her in there. That was pretty cool. I got to see when they pull up in the Lonnie's van or truck with Tommy and Lonnie and Marion and Lindsay. And they're all getting the guns, and then Allison comes out and she goes, I'm going to get him. And I got to see all that. I have pictures of a little video village from that. I got to see when the inmate falls. So I got to see I got to see where they did the fall. They did it. I wasn't there for that. I mean, I was there, but I didn't get to see it, the actual stunt. But then I saw where they dropped the camera, and then he had to lie on the ground. I actually had a really cool picture of him on the ground in makeup, where his arms and one of his arms, one of his legs wrapped up in green because they had to edit it out and then put the fake one there. Wow. He had to lie there for like an hour and a half. Wow. And after that, it's funny because he was roaming around after that, and he was all covered in blood and stuff, and he's smoking a cigarette. And me and Kyle Richards, who played Lindsay, kind of saw him and looked at each other and like had a moment like, whoa, that's weird looking.
Right?
Because he was sitting there. I got to see when Allison comes out, or I'm sorry, Karen comes out with Tommy, like, I need a car, that scene. But, they did all those takes multiple times, and it was like, try it this way. And it was really cool to see what they used in what, again, I was only 2 nights, but I mean, and then the couple, the nurse and the, I forgot their names in the movie, but the nurse and the doctor.
Right. Yeah, they were cool.
I got to hang out with him for a bit. He was really cool. And then it was her last night on set, because they were in the car too when they pull up. Mm-hmm. So everyone had cake for her, and she was crying, and she made the speech. It was awesome. Really cool. It really was. Again, it's not like I go to film sets all the time. It was such a welcoming environment. Like, I didn't want to do, like, I just sat there. I'm like, I don't even want to touch anything because I'm not even supposed to be here. Right. But like Anthony Michael Hall comes up like, hey man, Michael Hall, nice to meet you. Like, you, and I'm like, like because he was just saying hi. Like, he was just, because he saw somebody he didn't recognize and wanted to say hi. Like, that was it.
That's awesome.
And Annie Matichak was sitting with us, and like her phone went off, and it was the Halloween theme. And she's like, oh, I better put that on silent, because she had to go and do a take or something. And it was like, Judy Greer was there. I mean, I talked to Jamie Lee Curtis for a few minutes, which was awesome. Yeah. But the crew was amazing. They were like, oh, craft service over there. Let's go. They had the dinner in the middle of the night, because, you're shooting night scenes. It was like, I don't know, 1 a.m. We all walked down the street to dinner in this big hall. It was like a cafeteria style, but everyone ate together. It was like a buffet, and actors, crew, didn't matter. Everyone was in line getting their food, sitting down at big tables like a lunchroom. And I got to talk to all these amazing people who work on these sets, like locally, like in Wilmington, North Carolina. Like, that's kind of what they do, or they go to different places, like they get hired. And just to see the behind the scenes of all that. And it was cool because a lot of them are like, oh, I love Fright-Rags, and some of them had the shirts and stuff, but not even just that. It was just so cool to talk to people like, oh yeah, I was, I'll be working on the new Scream film or whatever it was. I don't even think that was announced at the time, but like, they would talk about other stuff. I know Scream was filmed around there, but they were talking about other films that were filmed around there that they worked on. And I was like, I was just sitting there like in awe, because that's like the coolest thing, right? Of course. Like, but everyone I met was so welcoming and nice. I was hanging out with like the costume designer. She was telling me things. And of course, Chris Nelson and Jamie Lee's assistant, he was the best. We talked for hours. Like, I can't describe it, but it was like, it felt like a family that I was welcomed to their house to have dinner with, if that makes sense. Like, it was really cool. And David Gordon Green was super cool. And I don't know, it was just, when I first got there, I was so nervous because I just didn't want to screw anything up. Because like I said, I'm like, I'm just like a fly in the wall. And then after a while, it was sort of like, I don't know. It was just unreal. It was unreal.
Do you know what scenes Nick Castle was there for? What scenes he did?
I'll be honest. I don't know for certain because I haven't heard myself that Nick Castle was in any of the scenes.
Oh, I thought I read that online. I thought I saw it in the cast.
I know he was in 2018 because he was in the window when she first sees Michael, and it's the mirror when she shoots. That's him.
Okay.
I'm sure he was on set, and but I have no knowledge of him in this film. It's funny because the time I was on set, James Jude Courtney wasn't there. He wasn't filming, which would have been cool to see Michael being filmed.
That's be the icing on the cake right there. If you got the.
But when we were, well, I'll tell you, a nice consolation prize was we were in the little video village that's a little bit further away from when they do the filming. They have the it's like a cart with all the monitors from all the different angles, and then you have headphones on so you can watch the takes as you're listening to them, and producers can give their notes or whatever. The director has his own one, but so it was me and a couple of the producers sitting there, and some of the actors and stuff. But they're like, "Oh, we need to get you a seat." So they go grab one of the chairs from their trailer and they open it up, and it's The Shape.
That's crazy, and it says The Shape on it too.
Seat. Yeah, it's The Shape on it. I have a picture of it. And they said, and they're like, "That's well, James isn't here, so you get to use his seat." And I'm like, "What?" Wow. So
that's a whole nother thing that they called him The Shape in the movie, which they did in 2018. But that was, that's another like little piece for us that we would love.
That's what I mean. For any of the gripes I might have with any of them, it's overshadowed by the fact there's so much love and care put into getting it right for the fans. And I don't really look at it as fan service in this. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a bunch of winks, nudges, but I don't look at it as.
And it was tastefully to me.
Yes,
it wasn't
I don't
like
look
overdone.
At it as empty fan service, right? It was in service of the story, but also like, listen, this is a legacy of 40 years, and we want to do this right. And I think that they brought it to the table. Everybody did. I mean, look. John Carpenter is doing the freaking music for it. Like, what? We're getting a Halloween movie with him doing the music?
The music in this movie was insane to me. Better than the last one. Good. Better than the last one. When he's chasing Allison down the stairs. That song when he's chasing Allison down the stairs was like my favorite one. It was like just crazy.
I will say, and again, minor gripe, and I'm going to listen to the soundtrack a bit more. But while watching the movie, when they called back to the original themes, not even just the Myers theme or, the main theme, but like the Laurie theme or whatever themes they've called back to, they were just a little fast for me. I like them when they're just
It makes sense. I mean, it was a fast-paced movie, which I liked it. That's why I liked it. Maybe they intentionally said, let's speed it up a little bit because it felt like the vibe of the movie. It felt like they wanted to go, all right, this is a bridge movie. Let's really just knock it out and, make it just a gory, just a total like murder fest.
Yeah. And obviously in that sense with the music, at least, well, everything, but especially with the music, it felt modern. Like even the opening sequence with the pumpkins, which I love the nod to the Halloween 2 pumpkin, it cuts off so abruptly. I was listening to it on my phone actually.
It does.
And I was like, did I miss a song or something? But it fits in the movie. So those little things make it more modern, which I'm okay with. But I listened to that original soundtrack like ad nauseum, and so I'm used to hearing certain things. And when you bring that back, but then just change it a little bit by making it faster, I'm like, oh, like that's not what I wanted to hear, but I get it,
So how on earth did you exercise that? How much willpower do you have for you to lay in bed? I don't know if you slept. That's a different story. But for you to spend the night knowing it's on Peacock and you go, I'm going to wait for the theater. How was that night?
I'll be completely honest with you. It did not faze me. And I'll tell you, I don't know why exactly. I think here's the thing. Obviously I was way excited for it. I mean, clearly I was chomping at the bit to see it. And the other cool thing is I got my son out of school a little bit early so he can come with us.
Nice.
I just knew I did try to stay away from any, even though I don't think the movie could have been spoiled for me because I knew,
you knew
a lot of the
what were
major points. So So I don't think there could have been anything that someone would have said that I at least didn't know about a little bit. Again, I hadn't read the script, but I did, like if they said Karen died, well, I knew that. So it wasn't going to be a spoiler, but
wow.
I don't know. I think partly it's because I knew the story, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like,
you knew a lot more than everybody else.
Yeah. When 2018 had come out, I had already read the script like 10 times. You know what I mean? And I knew they had done reshoots and I knew the ending was changing, which I had confirmed with a friend of mine that it had changed, and I was glad because the ending in the script I didn't like. But I knew, so it was still a surprise to me to see what they changed, but I knew it was going to happen. And for this movie, again, I hadn't read the script, but I knew the major story beats. I was like, I know, I just want to see how they do it, even though I know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it was, the anticipation was there, but it wasn't quite like,
yeah, that's very understandable, as opposed to most of the people are totally blind to what they're about to see.
Exactly. I was just like,
so that was the secret. You knew just enough. You knew just enough to stay away from the theater,
which was good because it still was cool to see it in action. And then it's funny, I was telling some people this before, like there were some of the scenes that I saw being filmed and I'm watching them on the big screen. I'm like, if they just moved that camera a little bit, I'd be like, what's up?
I was surprised they didn't throw a gown on you and have you chasing the Michael Myers around.
Oh my God, that would have been incredible. Even just being part of that crowd would have been amazing just to step in. Again, I didn't want to say boo because I was
how could you? No.
You know what I mean?
It was incredible. That's an incredible, once in a lifetime, amazing.
Absolutely. Truly once in a lifetime. Like I came home from that like reeling. And I probably told you this before too, but because it was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, that's where Silver Bullet was filmed. That's one of my favorite films of all time. So during the day, I was going to all the different sites from that film thinking, oh my God, during the day I'm in Tarker's Mills and at night I'm in Haddonfield. This is
what a vacation.
My mind.
What a best vacation ever.
Oh my God, it was incredible. I got sick like 2 days later. I got like a nasty cold. I was up.
I'm sure you're probably up, and then you were shaking hands with so many people, around so many people.
Oh man, but just
that's a cold I'll take for that.
Oh my God,
take that cold.
Yeah, I didn't mind taking that hit because it was like, it was. I look back on it, and I'm like, it feels. I don't know. I can't describe it. It just feels unreal, and I can't believe I got to experience it. So I'm very grateful for that.
I can't even imagine, because at the end of the movie, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I almost cried at the end of this movie. Just knowing. Like for me and you, I'm a little younger, so I wasn't around for all the movies, but I know the history, and I was like, at a certain point, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever gonna see a cool Michael Myers movie in the theater. Like even after Rob Zombie, I'm like, it's not the Michael like I wanted like that. So I never would have imagined getting 2018. Then we got that, and then I felt this was a superior film, 2018. So when I got to see, when I got to see this one, I mean, because I guess maybe because I got the setup in 2018, I don't know, but I just felt like I liked probably the fan service a little more. I liked that we got Lindsay and Tommy and Lonnie. I thought that was great. I thought the kills were better. I thought the music was better to me. A little more Laurie. If obviously I would have liked a standoff, but I think maybe because I know we're gonna get it eventually. It's hard to tell because it's a bridge film, but I can tell you that I'd rather watch this one.
Well, that's the thing I agree, like with the Laurie thing, with her not being as pivotal a role or as a focus in this film, it just sets it up for the final act.
Right. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah. And I feel like we're really going to see some crazy stuff happen in the third one with her and him. And it's all just building up to that. So, I don't think it would have been fair to try to have her have a standoff in this movie. And then the third one, I think he had to hold back a little bit. And I am interested to see where they take it. And like you said, not only having Jamie Lee Curtis back again, which I didn't think would ever happen.
Nobody would have.
And of course, John Carpenter, and then Nick Castle even being part of it. And then Kyle Richards coming back. Like, what? Like, she is the last person I would have ever expected to reprise a role. And not just because she seems so far removed from that it's not that, I mean, for whatever reason, it just didn't seem like that would be on her radar. And for her to be not only so like interested in coming back, but like totally into it, like, and loving it. Like I didn't get to talk to her that much, but she was super cool. And it's like, I mean, she doesn't need to be doing this. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't, and not that Jamie Lee does either, but I mean, like, she clearly doesn't need to be doing this, and yet she's totally into it and interested, and that is wild. I mean, obviously Nurse Marion coming back, and Charles Cyphers, I got to see him find the body and, you know, say it's not him, you know, and he's such a cool dude anyway. And I obviously that's great to see, and didn't think that would happen either. And it's like, oh my God, it feels like Haddonfield. Like all these people make it feel like Haddonfield. And I thought Anthony Michael Hall did a great job. I just felt like he went, my minor gripe with him is that the character was just all intense all the time. It wasn't anything else. So I didn't get a sense of how the 40 years had impacted him other than
that little setup you got in the beginning with the stage, you know, the microphone. It wasn't really that personal.
I didn't have any other feeling about him other than this guy is really got hung up for what happened 40 years ago. Again, it's Halloween night. I get why he's talking about it, but what does he do? Like, because he was the one to lead the mob, so I would have liked a little bit more backstory behind him, just a smidge, just a little. But I think they did more with Lonnie than they did with him.
And I was shocked to see that. I didn't think I was going to see Lonnie. I knew Tommy was going to be it. I didn't think he was going to be in such a pivotal role. But I think that they are betting on the fact that you know what happened and you're just going to fill in the blanks and they're just going to roll. You're just going to roll with it, which is what I did. I was like, you know, I didn't really think about it the way you're thinking about it. I just said, oh, it's Tommy. He's traumatized. Boom, let's go. I was just ready to see Michael just...
But the only reason why I say that is because they spent so much time building up Laurie in the first one, in the 2018, and her backstory, which makes sense. She's the focus point. I get it. Because I felt like you got to now get into the new world. Like, you just came from 78 and now you're settling into 2018. You're going, okay, what's the lay of the land here? What are we dealing with? And granted, they set that up greatly in 2018. In this one, they introduced all these quote unquote new people, even though they're not. But it was like, this is what you got. This is what we're going with. Let's go. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I need to, I just want to, just give me like 5 more minutes with these people just to get a sense of it. And then let's move. You know what I mean?
If they would have taken the Frank stuff out and added that, I probably would have liked that more.
Agreed. And I'm only holding my reservation to see what the Frank stuff happens in the third. But I felt like that was just a smidge forced to me, even though I love Hawkins and I love, what's the guy who plays him? Forgot his name. Sure. I love him. Will Patton. I love him as an actor. I love his role. I loved him in 2018. I have no problem with him still living. I just felt like they were trying too much with because him saying it's his fault, not Laurie's fault. Like, I'm like, where is this coming from?
Well, you're right, because they have a whole story that they're not exploring with those characters. They could be spending that time on them. I never thought about it like that.
They were going to be dating at one point, and he's saying now
it's
his fault.
I didn't need that. I didn't need all that.
And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What's happening? I don't need any of this. I want to know more about over here. And then go ahead and kill all these people. Even if they brought that into ends, I would have been okay with it a little bit more than shoehorning into this while they're kind of just steamrolling over these other people, which again, I'm okay with in the end. I just feel like they could have spent a little bit more time because it's Tommy and Lindsay and Nurse Marion. I mean, these are people that, not that we got to know Nurse Marion that much. I'm okay with her dying pretty quickly, but Tommy, who was a pretty big role in the first one, and they spent more time on Lonnie than Tommy.
Yeah, I guess, and I think if you watch it removed from, like, if you watch it as a standalone movie, they kind of just look like loons. Like, they just like be like, wait, what? Like, why are you? Yeah. Why are you so aggressive about? Like, why are you so crazy about this? Like, you guys just got up and just got a whole mob to take out Michael. Like, who is? I don't even understand. Who is this guy?
And like you said, they do rely on us. You know, people like you and I.
You know who that is. Go ahead.
But I would still like just a little, because
you're right. Okay. I agree.
And I will tell you why. One of the reasons why my thought of this is colored a little bit, because the story that I was told, and I don't know what else they shot. I don't know if there was extra stuff that they trimmed. From what I gathered, though, is that Marion, Tommy, Lindsay, and Lonnie and Laurie would get together. I thought it was once a month, but maybe it was every year on Halloween.
That's what it looked like.
At this bar, and reminisce about their experience. And then over time, Laurie stopped coming because she sort of started pulling herself away. Mm-hmm. Now, in my head, I'm building up the story in the movie going, oh, they're going to kind of go through that a bit. Nope. Instead, it's like when you read a book and then you see the movie, and what took 100 pages in a book took a minute in the movie and you're like, whoa, back up. No. That's so in my mind, I had a different vision of what that would look like in the movie, and they would just it wasn't, hey, they're in a bar for 5 minutes and now Michael's back and now they're running out of the bar. Yeah. It was, let's establish the fact that this is a regular thing, more than just one line saying that this is, and then do it. And so that felt very much in my head because I already came in with that preconceived notion, like that was quick,
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but I could agree. It's still, to me, better than 18.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's yeah. I'm glad you love it.
Are you the same? You think 18's better?
I don't know. It's going to be, it's hard because I feel like it's like, I know I keep using analogies, but it's like Stranger Things, right? You've got, to me, Stranger Things is like a movie. A season, like season 3 is like a movie, and it's like saying which episode's the best. To me, it's like, well, it's all part of the same story. So I look at 2018 and Halloween Kills as almost one unit right now, and then we're going to tack on a third one. However, separating them out, I think it's still early on for me to decide, because I've only seen Kills basically twice, even though the second time I was falling asleep because it was really late. Nothing against the movie, I was just really tired. 18, though, like I said before, was so rewatchable to me, oddly rewatchable. Like I kept putting it on. Whereas I love 4, I love 3, even though it's not Mike Myers. I love 2. I love 5, I love 6. Like the only ones I don't watch a lot are H2O and Resurrection. I just don't watch those as much. I like H2O a lot. I really don't like Resurrection that much. I even tried watching it the other night and I got through it and I was like,
it gets worse the more you watch it. It's better off not watching it that much.
And Robs I watch once in a while, but Robs are pretty brutal, and they're mean spirited, I should say. Obviously, Kills is brutal, but it's Robs, and I don't mind Robs. I like them. They're just you just don't like anybody in them, right? So
I guess
my point
with 2, I feel like that more. I think 1, there's still heart in that one with the mom and Michael, because you feel more for Michael than in regular. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
You're right. You're right. The 2 definitely just has
that just went off the rails.
Yeah.
That was just like everybody's annoying.
I grew to appreciate too. Once I saw the director's cut with Rob's commentary, I thought that was I'm like, oh, now I'm inside his head. I get it. Still not love it, but I get it, I
feel like that's the opposite of Resurrection. The more I watch that one, the more I like that one. Like the more I appreciate it, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of, because then you're a movie like, okay, I guess I get the ghost thing now. It's like it's a thing in this movie, whatever. When you first watch, you're like, what? A ghost? Like that never happened.
It's
now
weird.
You watch it like 5 more times, like, okay, anyway, let's appreciate everything else. Loomis is a total douche in that movie. Like, and that's like, how do you not like Loomis? That's the one movie that you don't want to like him.
As much as I love Malcolm McDowell, and I actually like the way I like his portrayal of what he was given for Loomis, I like. However, I don't like
the character.
They made him a jerk.
Yeah.
So
exactly. You're not supposed to like him.
It's nothing against Malcolm McDowell, and it's nothing against Rob's direction with it in terms of he played what he was given correctly in the way he should have. I just don't like looking at Loomis going, why do I hate you so much? I shouldn't hate you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they wrote him that way. That wasn't the acting. They made him a total jerk, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that.
I think I'll like Kills a lot. I love Kills, but I think it will grow on me the more I watch it, and the more like I'm going to be. We do live tweets every week on Twitter, obviously, and next Friday, so the right before Halloween, we're doing a double feature of 2018 and Kills, and that'll probably be the first time. And granted, I'll be tweeting during it, but that'll be the first time I watch them back to back, more than likely, and that'll be fun because I think that will definitely help cement Kills for me a little bit more. So it's hard for me to say if I like that one better than 2018. I still think I might like 2018 a little bit better, but there is something to movies where, like Spider-Man, where the first one you have to deal with the origin and all these things, and then the second one gets right into it and you're hopping into it. So Kills might end up being slightly more rewatchable because you can just throw it on and next thing you know, boom, and it moves quick,
Yeah, that's mostly why I like it the most, and then the other aspects I discussed on the YouTube. So we could probably talk about that for 3 hours. But now let's talk about Fright-Rags. So to those of you who think I might be bugging and I might be lying, we started filming videos for these now. So you could see I got one of my Fright-Rag shirts on here. You can't get this. This one's sold out like twice, right? This one sold out twice. This is a Michael Myers tie-dye shirt here. I got the Halloween 4 hoodie, which I also have in a shirt, but that's dirty. So you can see this one. This is like one of my favorites. You got the new Candyman shirt. This one was a really nice drop, too. This one was fucking sick. The yellow one. And then you guys have a Trick or Treat one that's coming out Friday. That looks insane. That might be my favorite Trick or Treat drop you guys have done.
I think it's up there with mine too, because we've been working with Zachary Brown on those 2 new designs, the newest ones we put out, which he's awesome. And obviously, you know, Kyle did the long sleeve, which it was amazing because he also did the Halloween Kills long sleeve and all the other long sleeves we've been doing. It's awesome. Like, I'm looking forward to that one as well. So I appreciate that. That's awesome to hear that.
And you guys have the front has the little vampire kid on it. I never seen you guys do like a patch on the front.
We've done it in the past, but not on a regular basis, and we're going to be doing more of that. A lot of people ask if there's going to be things on the front of the hoodies. A lot of people want it, and honestly, it's just been one of those things where we're seeing demand for it, and it's like, you know what? Let's just start doing that. Let's where we can and where it makes sense. And we thought with these, it would be fun. Sense.
And I didn't think you guys were going to go that route because everybody would do Sam, you know. And I don't know if is it me, but it feels like I went to Halloween Spirit twice already, which I'll probably go 4 more times. But is Trick or Treat, it just keeps growing in popularity because I went in the store and there's a whole display and I was like, since when? Like, this is like such a, like, it just keeps, they keep making more stuff for it every year. It's like it keeps growing in popularity, which is great because that's my favorite Halloween movie besides Halloween. So is it just me, or is it they keep making stuff more? Like, it keeps growing. In the last
2 years, I think what happens, you're exactly right. You know, Spirit started doing their stuff direct, so they were able to get the license and do their own stuff with Trick or Treat. So they, you know, and Spirit is pretty big for Halloween fans, or horror fans, I should say. And yeah, I love it because to see a movie that went, first of all, Warner Brothers didn't know what to do with it. It ended up getting shelved for 2 years. Put out on video in 2009.
Really? I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, it was made in 2007. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to market it. Okay. And they shelved it. And then they finally just said it'll be straight to video, essentially, or DVD, whatever.
Wow.
And then for it to grow over the last 12 years into this cult classic, and to see a store like Spirit celebrating it for people that don't necessarily watch a lot of horror movies or they just like Halloween, for them to still buy a Sam mug or decoration, that's awesome because he's starting to now pervade that environment where it's now like Sam is this icon, one of the icons of Halloween for the mass audience, if you will, even though we still love him. I just hope that means we can get a part 2 at some point, because I know Michael Dougherty said he wanted to do one at one point. I don't know if he still wants to, but I thought maybe he had the stories for it or something. I don't know, but
I heard it was going to be a Christmas one. That's what I thought he said.
Well, I mean, he did Krampus.
But I remember he said he wanted to do one like an anthology, like Christmas one.
Maybe I don't know. Actually,
I read that somewhere. It might be wrong.
Trick or Treat is I think you're right. For me, it could be my second favorite Halloween film.
And it is growing because I have like regular people coming to me like, what is that little pumpkin guy thing now? I keep seeing that everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, because it's the greatest fucking Halloween movie around besides Halloween, any of the Halloween.
It's transcended the movie at this point. He's become literally an icon of the holiday aside from the movie, which is pretty amazing.
They got Funko Pops now, which I was surprised to see. I think they've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
It's going good. So I showed the shirts, the hoodies. So take us through the process of making one of these badass shirts from the beginning.
So it's obviously we have to have the license first, and the license can dictate a lot of what we can and can't do. So, when we get a license for a movie, it doesn't mean that we can do whatever we want. It comes with a lot of stipulations, some of them more, some of them less. So for example, let's just use Halloween as an example. The original Halloween, I should say, not Kills or anything else, but the original Halloween, we can pretty much conjure up any ideas we want because we don't have any limitations on the likenesses or things like that. Now, that said, it still has to get approved by the studio. So if we come up with an idea that they don't like, we can't do it, I just mean in terms of limitations like with Trick or Treat, we can't use anybody's actual face in those images. We can use the characters and the masks and stuff, but we can't use like Anna Paquin's face or things like that. So if it's done in a way like, so we have to understand the limitations. And then, you know, we have lots of different artists that we work with. Some people that are sort of, you know, key people for us that are exclusive to us, like Kyle Crawford and Justin Osborne. They have different styles. Justin did the Halloween 4 hoodie that you just showed. And then, you know, the shirt you have on now, the tie-dye Kyle did. We say, okay, guys. And what I like to do is, because I love working with artists that have vision, more times than not, we will give them the limitations and just say, do something with this and let's see what you come up with, because I don't want to hinder anybody in their vision. Obviously, if there's limitations or we can't do this or that, they need to know that. But once in a while, we'll say, oh, we got an idea for this. I want you to do this. Or sometimes once in a while, I'll sketch out a quick thought of what I had in mind and then give it to someone like Justin for him to just completely do his masterpiece with. But it's the seed of the idea might come from myself or from Tansky on my team or somebody else on my team. Will come up with ideas. But a lot of times, more often than not, we'll be like, you know, Kyle, we want you to do a long sleeve for Halloween Kills. Here's some assets you can use. Boom, go for it. And then he'll come up with some ideas. And then we internally go, oh, yes, or oh, no, not that one, or whatever. And then we'll submit it to the studio. And then the studio has to approve it. In the case of Halloween Kills, it goes through 4 different studios, I think, that have to get approval. It was quite a process because there's so many hands in the pot for that movie in terms of production and distribution and rights holders and things like that. So that can take time. And sometimes it takes more time than you want it to take because you need to get the stuff done. And as soon as you get the approval, then we can then say, okay, well, we want to release it at this time, and then, you know, put it in production, get it to our printers. Our printers are right down the street from us. They're just a couple miles down the road. We work really closely with them. I'm really good friends with the owner. I can go over there anytime and check it out. Like I was watching the tie-dye shirts being made, and I could take a look at them and make sure they looked good, because there were so many different variations that we were going for that I had to sign off on the ones that we wanted. And so that's kind of the basics. I mean, it gets, again, everyone has their limitations. Halloween Kills was really nerve-wracking for us, because even though that movie was shot 2 years ago, they did some reshoots. And then and this is a big studio film and it's a modern film, right? So this has way more different, this has different things in the contracts, whereas a movie that was made in the 70s doesn't, right?
Really?
So there are so many limitations in terms of, we couldn't even look at photos until, you know, they give us assets.
Okay, I get it.
They give us images that have to be approved by all these studios that we can then use for our designs, because they have to all be approved images from the film. So that took a lot longer than we had hoped. And, you know, it's just because there's so many people involved. And then as soon as we got these images, you know, we sent them off to Kyle and Justin to do their magic. And we had some limited likeness rights in our contract, but we had no time, because that means they get approval as well. And we could not risk having our designs get hung up in any additional approval processes, because the countdown was ticking, because we knew the movie's coming out in October. We knew we had to get our shirts out way early because the anticipation was so much. If we had tried to print ahead of time what we thought was in demand, we would have already been still pre-ordering, and then we wanted people to have it for the 15th. So our deadline was August, so we could get them out by September 1st for that pre-order. So we could at least let people order what they wanted for a week. And then we could go, okay, we're shutting it off. We're going to print all of that. And then we're going to print a ton more. And then October 5th, you still have a chance to get it, which worked out great, because we literally had our biggest day ever as a company in 18 years. The first day we released those
Congratulations. That's a soundbite. You need to applaud for that.
It was, we knew it was going to be big. 2018 was big for us. We were all in awe. Like, we're on, you know, we use Slack for communication amongst the team for not all the office. And I just could not believe it. And then, you know, the entire week for pre-ordering was incredible, but I just couldn't believe it. And so we could have never anticipated that kind of demand. So I'm glad we did the pre-order, and then we had to turn it off at some point so we could print the shirts. and then re-release them, which then they all started selling out again. And then we did reprint Halloween Kills. I think we we just printed a lot more of those. The long sleeve. We reprinted a lot of those, and they still sold out. And then
I just saw you guys promote them yesterday.
Well, what happened, we were selling them pretty steadily, but we had a lot. And then we had sent Jamie Lee Curtis some, and she posted herself over the weekend with her in the shirt. And then they started selling like crazy. Boom. And then that night, Saturday night, she posted again with her and Demi Moore and Melanie Griffith and Paris Jackson and a bunch of other women in those shirts. She actually sent it to me in an email, like, oh, we went out tonight because she needed more shirts. She actually would hit me up. She's like, hey, can I get a few more of those? I'm going out next week. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't know what it was for, and that's what it was for. And I was like, whoa. And it brought in all of these people. And so we made that decision late Saturday night because we'd sold out of almost all of them. We're like, we got to put them up on pre-order. We got to meet demand here.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Thanks. And thank you. It really, because and then they were selling like crazy. And I again, I could go on and on about that experience because it's just, again, I can't put it into words. It's incredible. Like it's, I don't expect anything like that. And it was just amazing because I'm like sitting here going, I'm looking at images of, Jamie Lee Curtis in our shirts and proud. I mean, she wore our 2018 shirts at Beyond Fest at the premiere a week and a half ago. She sent me that and she's like, hey, I'm wearing your shirt tonight. And then she posted that and she sent it to me and I was like, oh my God, like I can't.
That's nuts.
Your brain just goes into, synapses, crazy. But yeah, and then Hot Topic actually wanted to get them too. So now they're they're testing some Halloween Kills stuff in Hot Topic, which I guess some of them was sold out because they're out of all sizes. Yeah. So it's like, it's overwhelming, but it's amazing to just see that. So anyway, that's the process. I know I got a little off tangent there,
take
but
as many tangents as you want.
But yeah, and you mentioned Candyman. It's funny because that dropped.
Dude, that was insane.
We were severely limited on that one, like to the point where I was like, I don't think we can do anything for this film. And it got to a point where it was, I'm not even kidding you, like days, maybe 2 days. No, it was a little bit, maybe a week before we released those shirts that we were able to get approvals on what we did. And even then, that was so drastically different from the original ideas we had. Given the style guide that we were given by the studio, we had our own concepts, but they really wanted to narrow down the scope of the style, which is fine. That's their right. That's fine. I have no problem with that. The problem that I have is your movie comes out in 2 weeks and we need to be selling shirts for this movie. Right. You know what I mean? So here's what we got. Like, and it ended up working out perfectly in terms of communication with the studio, being able to rework what they wanted us to do in time and for them to approve it in time so we could release it. And I'll tell you, because at first, to be honest with you, I was disappointed because it was really a lot of the assets they had given us that we could just rework. And I like when we can do original things, right? That's kind of our thing. And I thought, you know what, this drop's going to be all right though. Like I think I always want to do better. I always want to go further and try to do better with anything we do. And I felt like this felt like we weren't doing that. And I felt like people were going to maybe call us out on that. But I was like, this is literally all we could do with what we were given.
You think they were going to call you out on the simplicity of the ideas?
Yeah, I thought maybe they thought people were going to think that we took an easy way out or something. This is just me. And so I was like, I didn't want to disappoint fans that were looking forward to seeing the movie and wanted something really cool and original to wear. Listen, I don't mind doing a poster shirt we did with Halloween because I thought it was amazing. The Halloween Kills poster looked great. And even the Candyman, but it just, we couldn't do a lot with the property. And I really wanted to do it well because I was really looking forward to the film. But what we did end up doing and getting approved, I really did like, and it sold really well, which was awesome. And quite frankly, that movie was awesome. Like I loved it personally. Maybe they can relax a little bit now that the movie's out. Maybe we can do some different things with it. I hope. But just in my mind, because I'm our worst critic. Like every time we put something out, I'm like, damn it, we could have done something different. We should have done more. We should have done this. You know what I mean? Like not to say, then that's nothing against our artists. That has nothing to do with me putting them down. It's not at all. I think they do an amazing job. You're the curator, right? And you want to like make sure you've got the right message, and you want to make sure it makes sense to people. And that in my weird brain, I go, what does this? I look at it as making a mixtape, right? Every release is like a mixtape, and it's like, how do you move these pieces around and make sense for people? Even if you'll never understand what I was trying to do or we were trying to do, I want to understand it with all the great work that our artists have done. I want to make sure they all have a chance to shine, and they all are different and unique in some way and say something different, you know?
I totally understand that. So it's like so correct me if I'm wrong, because you had mentioned the Halloween Kills thing. You wanted to do some more stuff, but you felt like you weren't going to have time for the approvals. And then with Candyman, you said that there was some limitations. Is it more with the faces of the actors? That's the biggest limitation?
Yeah, for Candyman, it was really even just style, like the art style that we wanted to do. Oh, yeah.
What they really wanted. Could you say what they said, like what was a no-no?
It was literally just the styling. So like Kyle Crawford does a lot of cool retro looking, kind of like distressed looking stuff, which I love. That's why we have him on the team, right? But they didn't want that look for Candyman because that movie is very artistic. You know what I mean? Like, look, there's the cutouts. That has more than a lot of films. Well, I guess I can't say that, but more than some films, it has a very distinct style to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like Halloween Kills, I think we can have fun with, where it's like, I want to do this gritty looking design, or I want to do this beautifully painted design, or we want to do this highly colored, you know, him in the fire or whatever. Whereas Candyman has a very strict look about it, and they just wanted to keep everything within that lane.
Right.
Completely understandable. Yeah, I get it. I really do. And I appreciate that they have that vision. So it's not a knock to them. It just at the time was nerve-wracking because we had done all of this work and pretty much all got rejected. And I'm like, and then they're like, but you can use this. And I'm like, okay, you gave me 3 images to use. I don't like, that's all we're going to be able to do. So it's like,
at this point, you just feel like you're kind of just like putting stuff on a t-shirt instead of creating something.
That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like we were able to do a lot of, but I mean, we did take liberties within what they gave us. So I feel like we tweaked it enough to make it our own, but it wasn't as much as we would normally be used to. Whereas a lot of times, like older films, like I said before, not every older film, but most older films, it's sort of like, again, likenesses can be an issue, especially with certain studios. So like, even if it wasn't in the contract, in terms of, like, say Jaws, for example, there's probably nothing in their contracts about merchandise. No one was thinking about that in 1975. Right. So there probably wasn't anything saying you couldn't use their likeness. But Universal isn't going to play that game. They don't want to get sued. So like, you can't use it at all unless you get permission from the estates of the actors or actresses or the people themselves. So, you know, and I respect that. I get it. They're a big studio. They don't want to get sued because we slapped, Richard Dreyfuss's face on a shirt and he was like, hey, I never approved that. And next thing you know, you got a lawsuit in your hands. I get it. It just creates a little bit more of a situation where you're like, okay, how can we be creative here, you know?
Well, that's interesting. You kind of answered my question a little bit before I even answered it, because I wanted to know, I heard you talk about licenses, or is it licensors? That's what you would refer to them as?
Like licensor. Yeah. So they're like the licensor, we're the licensee. Yeah.
Right. So you talked about the licensors on the Halloween Kills live stream when you showed the merchandise. So I was wondering, like, how difficult could these negotiations get? Like, so is that Candyman sounded like a pretty difficult one? That sounded like even like a little bit of a heartbreaking one, because you have all these great artists and you can't. They're basically saying, "Oh, you just put this on a shirt, basically, and make some money."
Yeah.
So how is that? Are there any, like, what are the most difficult ones have you dealt with in the past?
I think Candyman was probably the more difficult one just because of the timing of it, right? If we had more time, I could have stepped back and went, okay, this is what we can do. But we were so down to the wire. I'll tell you, some of the difficult ones we had, when we worked with Lionsgate initially, because they had all the Vestron titles, the initial talks, we were getting a ton of titles. It was going to be awesome, all this great stuff, blah, blah, blah. But because Lionsgate had acquired Vestron, I don't know when they did, but Vestron, I think, went through a couple different hands before Lionsgate. I could be wrong about that, but you're talking about Vestron, a company in the 80s that all these contracts were literally in boxes in a storage place or somewhere, right? So they're on paper, they're just in there. And there's movies like The Gate and, Return of the Living Dead 3 and all these, not the most popular. I mean, I love them, but they're not the most popular films, right? So we got this license and we're like, we can do all this stuff. And then we were told we couldn't do anything, because they were so worried because these contracts are so old, we're not sure what to do.
Wow.
And I'm like, we can't even use the poster art, the logo, nothing. I'm like, what can we do? And I had already given them money, and I was like, this is crazy. So
you gave them money to use the stuff?
Well, yeah, because you have to do an advance. When you get a license, you have to pay money up front to be able to. It's an advance.
Okay, I don't know how that worked. Okay.
Oh, sorry. So when you get a license, you pay money up front generally, and this is obviously a general situation, but especially with studios, you're going to pay them a certain amount of money up front, and it's an advance against royalties. So keeping it very simple terms, if I paid somebody $5,000 for a license and it was based on a 10% royalty, that $5,000 is an advance. Well, once we make $50,000 worth of sales of that merchandise, well, 10% of 50,000 is 5,000, right? Mm-hmm. Once we earn past 50,000, then we start paying 10% royalties, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If we don't make 50,000 over the life of the license, which is usually 2 years, we don't have to pay anymore, but we just gave up more percentage because we didn't make to earn out of the license, right? To earn out of that advance, I should say.
Got it.
So in doing so, you always want to make sure you can at least earn out of the advance as much as you can, right? So, and again, that's just simple terms. Royalty rates are different. Advances are wildly different. I mean, they can range greatly in terms of the money that you have to put up for some of these, especially bigger studios. So with Lionsgate, we spent a lot of money up front for a bunch of titles, which was great. And then we were told we couldn't do anything. And then eventually what we had to do is come to an agreement where we had to have a basically indemnify them completely of all anything so that we could sued. So if anything happened and we say put out a shirt, like they would still approve it, but if we put out a shirt and an actor or an artist or something that came and is like, you can't do that, Lionsgate would be like, well, sorry, you're screwed. Wow. And we would have to take it. It was a risk. It was a risk. I get it. Lionsgate were protecting themselves. I don't blame them one bit. I was the one that signed that and said, okay, we'll do it. And it was fine because we knew what we were doing. We knew we weren't going to be doing anything wrong, or we knew kind of what our limitations were. So
it's like a calculated risk.
Yeah, it was a total calculated risk.
You got to take them. You got to take those.
Yeah, you do. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and we worked with General Mills for a few years doing the cereal monsters.
I remember I gave one of those to my niece. Yeah, I wore one of them to death, and my niece has one now. I think it was I think I gave her I got the Count Chocolate Blueberry and Frankenberry one, right? You had one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
you made the Count Chocolate socks.
Yep. And we did. Yeah, and then we finally got Fruit Brute and Yummy Mummy after a while. They were great to work with, but the difference with them is anytime you do anything, every little thing has to get tested. I mean,
I bet
the paint on the masks, the plastic of the masks, the ink on the shirts, the fibers on the shirts, and we spent thousands of dollars and probably almost a year just testing before we could release anything. But listen, they're a food company. They have certain rules and limitations. We knew that going in. It's not, again, I respect the fact that studios have their way of working, and it's up to us whether or not we choose to work with that or not. You know what I mean? Sometimes it is frustrating, but other times you just go, well, that's what you got to do. You got to get over it and move on. And if you don't want to do it, then don't do it and don't get the license,
Exactly. So it can get rough, I guess. But I remember you were talking about Universal, right? That's like another tricky one.
It can be for certain things. So, Universal generally does not let you use any likenesses, and even anytime you use any words on the shirt, like a quote from a movie or something, you just have to back it up with where you got it from, references, because they just need to make sure that you're not. Listen, they don't know every line of every film that, you know what I mean? Like,
so they just want to make sure it was in the movie.
Well, they want to make sure it's in the movie, and they want to make sure it's not something that could be copyrighted somewhere else or trademarked somewhere else. They got to make sure, they got to do their checks and balances. I get it. You're a big studio. You can't risk this stuff. It's just sometimes we have to submit like pages of notes on what we're doing to let them know, like, this is from this, this is from this. We pulled this from here. Here's the thing, which honestly is kind of interesting. It's a lot more work, but it's also allows us a chance to be like, now we know. So it's like anything we do, it's like, here's the list of notes that go with it. And generally, once we provide those, it's fine, because again, we know the limitations, so we're not going to try to do anything that's outside the scope of what we think can get approved. And then with the Universal monsters, you just have to, with certain characters like Dracula, we work with Bela Lugosi's granddaughter on that. Even though we technically have the rights to Dracula through Universal, we go directly through her, because then we can use his likeness. Same thing with Wolfman. We work with Lon Chaney Jr.'s son. And so we can get, we can be able to do the Wolfman and it's Lon Chaney Jr. as opposed to like a generic one. With Frankenstein and Creature and Invisible Man and Bride of Frankenstein, we can use those directly through Universal. I think Karloff's estate, Sarah Karloff, his daughter, ended up coming to an agreement with Universal that they could control the rights, because it used to be through her. But I think that, I mean, that clearly got amended years ago because we were able to do it, and it's fine. So it's one of those things, you know, I learned pretty early on when we started doing licensing, where I was like, oh, you can't just do what you want once you get the license.
That's the hard reality, right? It's like, I guess you think, oh, I'm going to make a horror shirt company. I'm just going to just fucking make all this crazy cool stuff. So that's a good piece of information for everybody that I guess maybe want to get in the game. You don't know, like there's a lot of back end stuff you got to do. I didn't know about any of that till you started talking about it. I just thought we pay them and we get the license and we can just make whatever.
It gets even, you know, listen, it goes even deeper with, I mean, the contracts some of these companies have are, you know, 20, 30 pages, and there's a lot of stuff in there that you have to make sure I mean, a lot of it's boilerplate stuff that they put in every contract. It's fine, but you still have to go over it, because there's so many different things in there that you got to be sure you know what's going on. I mean, there's certain studios that have to approve every single social media post we do on the stuff that we do for those things, the text, the images, all of that have to get approved before we can even post it. We have to have some of our posts approved month in advance before we even post anything.
Jeez, that's something you think is so simple.
Yeah, and we're just trying to advertise the products, which again, 9 times out of 10, it gets approved just fine. It just has to go through that process. If we post it without approval, they're gonna be like, hey, we didn't approve that post. Like, oh, sorry, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's, again, because we've been doing this enough and we've worked with enough studios, we kind of already have an understanding of what's probably going to be expected of us in certain cases. Although then you get certain licenses that it's so much fun to work with because there aren't those sort of limitations that you're just like, and you just kind of lean back and crack your knuckles like, we're going to have fun with this one, because you know the people that are behind it, so you can have a good rapport with them, and it's like it just feels great. You know what I mean? Not that the other ones don't, but it's so much easier when you don't have all of that red tape to go through.
Yeah, you can be more artistic with it.
Yeah, you can just feel a little bit more like just go for it, you know. And
then one of those.
Really, well, I'll tell you, one of the ones that I've been very fortunate about is Halloween, and having that be my, you know, of course, as you know, it's my favorite movie of all time. But we are really, you know, good friends really with the people at the studio, so we know, like, we know what we can and can't do in terms of what we feel like is in the realm of possibility, but we know we can also present an idea in a way that they might go, okay, go for it, like trusting us to run with it. And so having that rapport, especially on the movie, for me is crazy. Like, I would have never expected that. Another one that's just so much fun to work on is the Joe Bob Briggs license. I mean, I've worked with him, and, you know, we had him up here in Rochester before last drive-in for a weekend. He was so great to hang out with. for the whole weekend. I mean, we hung out all weekend drinking and smoking cigars. It was crazy. And he was so great. And to be working with him and his manager is just great because I can send her ideas, or I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And she's like, let me run it by John. And that's really
boom.
John.
No, not a lot of people to go between people. Not a lot of departments.
5 minutes later, she'll either text me or email me like, yeah, go for it. John thinks it's great. I'm like, yes.
That's awesome.
And not just that, but the fact that fans, including myself, are so excited about his show. And every Friday, it's like, well, when he's on, during the last drive-in season and the special, it is, Twitter is lit up with people talking about it. So it's not just the ability to be able to kind of do what we want, obviously within reason. They still have to approve everything, but have a fan base that wants it too. You know what I mean? One thing, to do whatever we want with this movie, but no one cares. Yeah. It's also backed up by this like crazy fan base that want everything that we do. And so it allows us to be like, what else can we do that maybe we would want and people would want? Because it's about connecting that. It's about finding something, whether it's a design on a t-shirt or an item itself, that connects your love of this property, whether it's Joe Bob or Halloween or anything else, to that movie. It's a bridge to that. And it's not even about the money. It's about like what makes us just go, whoa, and can't say too much, but there is an item we're going to release next year for Joe Bob that when it was actually brought to us. It wasn't anything we came up with, but when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, yes. Or even when we did the figures, I was a little worried because I didn't know how well they'd sell, but I was like, yes, let's do a Joe Bob figure, It was, so just when those things happen and you've got a fan base that is celebrating on Friday nights and they're tweeting the images of the fact that they're wearing our shirts or lounge pants, watching Joe Bob, or anything for that matter, I'm just using Joe Bob as an example, it makes me go, oh my, it's so gratifying. And it's just like, you just want to create something new and exciting for people that just want more of Joe Bob and the franchise. And again, that goes for, pretty much anything we work on. It just happens to be that example.
No, it's the best. I mean, I could even speak for myself here. Like whenever we go on breaks or we don't post something and I get text messages and emails or whatever about people like, where's the show? Like, why didn't you do anything today? It's like, it's the best feeling in the world to get that prop like that. It's not, you can't pay for that. You can't pay for that feeling. Like to know that whatever you did and you love what you do. So just the act of doing it is great. And then you putting it out there and people also love it. You build that community, you build that whole, it's just like you guys feed off each other at that point.
Totally. Because not only, listen, we're creating this stuff, but we're also along for the ride as fans too. Like this isn't us creating in isolation or in some sort of vacuum where we're disconnected from everything else. I'm watching Joe Bob on Friday night too, and it's just the thing that I can't really talk about right now. I don't want to give anything away, but the person that brought it to us, he works at a company. He's a huge fan of not only Fright-Rags, but of Joe Bob. He's a really good customer of ours. And he brought this idea to us. And I was like, yes. And so just the idea behind this thing is from a fan, even though we didn't, come up conceptually. We had talked about a bunch of things, but he pitched that to us. And I was like, holy cow, now that's what we're talking about. But he's a fan. And again, of us too, but not just us, but Joe Bob. So he's coming at it from a position of, I want to create something for this. So that's where it really is so immensely gratifying because yes, we can release a shirt the day that Joe Bob has a special, which is awesome. But to know that people are wearing it that night or wearing a shirt of Joe Bob and they're posting it and we're all watching it together though, because we're all watching, like Halloween Kills is a great example. I was in the theater cheering on Halloween Kills, even though we had done shirts for it, and we were creating the merchandise that people were wearing to the theater and the posts and the mentions were so overwhelming.
You guys did a lot of reposts the last week.
I was like, and I wanted it to really highlight that because it's always gratifying, but it was so immensely humbling and gratifying to see everyone proudly wearing and posting that I was like, it's all about them. If it's not for everybody, then we don't get to do what we do. So it's really a reflection back to everybody else, because I really just truly feel like we're just along for this ride, and we will do whatever we can to keep people happy with stuff. But I mean, I'm equally a fan as I am anything else, making shirts.
It definitely shows. I mean, especially with horror, I don't think I haven't seen many companies where I'm like, oh, this looks like a total cash grab, but I feel like horror, most of the people that are in it, like you could definitely tell that they care. It would be kind of hard to, you could tell somebody just making some kind of whack Michael Myers shirt is like, oh, this is not from a fan. This is just like some bullshit. But with you guys, especially, you could see the detail. You could see, you could tell it's made by fans. So it's definitely not lost on anybody that you guys are fans. It's great.
Well, I appreciate that, because it's true. And listen, we don't always get it right. There's definitely been some things in the past where we've messed up, and I take all the blame for that. But we try to do it as best as we can all the time.
I haven't seen anything like that. I don't know what. I haven't seen one of those yet. I don't know. I've been following you guys since years, like 8. I don't even know how many years now. Long time. I haven't seen one of those mess ups.
No, we've had, there's been some things that have slipped by in the past, whether it's a misspelled word, or we had one classic example. And again, I take full blame for this. We had a design, and I do not blame the artist for this at all. I take all the blame. We did a design for RoboCop, and I loved it. And he was in the back with a gun, and there was also some other stuff happening on the bottom of it. And when we were sent the design by the artist, I loved it, but there were some tweaks I wanted to make personally. I just felt composition-wise, I wanted certain things at the bottom changed. So I was focused solely really on those things, okay? And then we ended up releasing it, and it sold okay, but then someone pointed out that he's got the wrong gun. He really should be having his automatic. He had like a 45, and I was like,
maybe that's why I didn't see it, because I don't like RoboCop, so I didn't peep that. That's wild.
So, and again, the design was fine, and it looked good, and it was again, and I don't fault the artist for it at all. And I can't even remember I don't think RoboCop himself does, but I don't know if Murphy he might have had the 45. I can't remember the type of gun he had in the beginning. So I don't blame the artist for doing that. I blame myself for. I should have been like, oh, you know what? We should change the gun out for this.
So what do you do when you get like you guys started getting messages about that, and you were like, wait, what?
No, it was only like 1 or 2 people pointed it out, but I mean, we still sold the shirt.
It had already been out. Okay.
Yeah, it happened, and it wasn't. I don't even think it was in a mean way. It just someone pointed out where I was like, and then when I saw it, I was like,
that realization must have been crazy.
What's that?
I said that realization must have been bananas, man. Like just
and listen, but things happen. You know what I mean? And
shit happens.
You try to just say, okay, well, let's make sure not to do that again. But things happen. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And we put out a lot of designs. You know what I mean? So sometimes things happen, but it's never on purpose. If something happens, it's generally just an accident that completely got missed, and it wasn't anything that was intentional, or we were trying to do, you know what I mean? Like, it was just something. The one thing I will say that was intentional, bringing it all the way back to Halloween Kills again, was the Halloween Kills shirt we did. That's the Osborne design. That's the flagship one where he's standing there and the mob's coming to get him. When that design was sent to us, I literally I'll admit it, I was crying a little bit, because
that got you crying.
It was a culmination of what we had to go through to get there. And I knew Osborne, we had already talked about the concept of the design, and he knew exactly where to go with it based on our conversations. And he already knew, but we were just reaffirming the fact that we wanted the mob and blah, blah, blah. But there's a guy with a torch, and that's what kind of lights his side of the head on fire, right? And the studio is like, well, there's never been people with torches in the movie, and which again hadn't come out yet, clearly. And I said, okay, I get it, but we could change it to like a bat and still have his head on fire. But I feel like the torch sends that message home, like they're trying to get him.
Yeah.
And I think that as a symbolic gesture or artistic license to ignite that fire, I think that's an okay artistic license. And we knew that it wasn't in the movie, but we decided to leave it in, and the studio actually appreciated the artistic license with it. So nobody has said anything yet, like, hey, there wasn't a guy with a torch, but
I don't think anybody will.
But I think what I mean is the overall effect of what that image does to the shirt and the design outweighs the fact that that scene or whatever, the guy with a torch wasn't in the film. You know what I mean? And listen, that's not the first time we've taken artistic liberty with things. And I see other people doing similar, things, not like Halloween Kills, but just other properties. Because once, you get a property, especially like an older property, you got to take some artistic license with things to make things interesting. And this was a case where I was like, all right, I get it. It's not accurate, if you will, but it was pretty rad. And I really didn't want to take it out because I thought it really helped the piece.
And I mean, what I'm thinking is, especially because the first thing I think about when I was watching that scene is Frankenstein. Like it's basically a nod to Frankenstein. Exactly. They're all headed to Michael's house, aka the whatever, what was he doing in the castle or whatever, the big house Frankenstein was in. So that just makes it even cooler because all of it is basically a nod back to Frankenstein. That's where the original. That's the only place I can bring back a mob from. And also,
that's it. That was sort of the idea too. Justin's like, it's like harkening back to Frankenstein, but that it helps establish the fact that we see so much of him on fire in the beginning there, the trailer and a lot of, all the posters are him just in, orange and everything. So it made sense to have some fire element there. And for that torch to tie in the fire with the mob was like, and then the Frankenstein element underlying that, it felt right. And it felt too right to not do or to try to change just for the sake of accuracy. To me, I'm like, that's an artistic license I'll take any day,
And also, listen, if you're going by my logic, I've been known to fudge the truth a little bit when I'm backed into a corner, okay? We didn't see nobody without a torch. There's a lot of people.
No, that's true.
We
saw a woman with an iron, but we didn't see a guy with a torch, right?
There was a lot of people. How do we know that there wasn't somebody with a torch?
I actually think Torch Guy came late because he was trying to get that thing lit.
You could have been.
I think what happened when he was sitting there behind the car trying to get this thing lit, and then by the time he was done, it's like, oh, he's dead already. I was going to set him on fire.
It was a very pressing situation. You have to light a torch. It takes a minute. You got to soak it in gas and all that other. It takes a second. How do you know there was no guy with a torch?
Exactly.
So nobody can say anything about that now. Now it's put to bed because we don't know for a fact. I got to ask this because I always think about this. We got Candyman. We got Michael. I haven't seen too much Freddy, actually, now that I think about that. Maybe you can answer that in a second. But one thing I've always wanted to know is why no Conjuring?
Well, I'll give you the same answer to that as I'll give to Freddy, is because Warner Brothers, that's the answer. So Warner Brothers has the rights to many films that we have not done, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Shining, Gremlins, Beetlejuice, Conjuring, all of those, right? And, listen, we've talked to them for a long time. And, we just haven't, studios take, again, depending on the studio, they take on licensees to fill certain gaps in the market, whether it's a specialty store like Hot Topic and Spencer's, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's, all these different things, right? And the other thing is, when you have multiple licensees for properties, you have to have a team of people to take in the designs, to approve them, to go to the right people, to make sure all the things are right. So they have a lot of people they already deal with, especially because it's not just horror that Warner Brothers deals with. It's Harry Potter, it's Batman, it's DC, it's big stuff, right? So their bandwidth is somewhat limited in the sense that they already have a ton of people that they work with.
Got it.
So we just haven't been able to get in there because also they have a lot of shirt partners they work with, they have a lot of people that they do the similar categories that we do. If we were doing watch bands or something, maybe that'd be different because maybe there's not a lot of people in that space, right?
Interesting.
So there's a lot of considerations. Again, it's frustrating for me because I get daily questions about those properties.
I can imagine because I always think about it. I'm like,
right.
Man, if a nun shirt would be so sick.
And I still bring it up to them, but at the same time, I respect and understand. As frustrating as it is for me, I do understand their position, putting myself into their shoes and go, okay, I get it. I just letting you know that I really want this and I want it to work and I want to work with you. And listen, I've been to their offices in Burbank. I've met with them in licensing show every year. I have emails and phone calls and stuff. So we are in contact. It's just about, I'm hoping it's a matter of when and not if.
Right. Well, I'm hoping for that nun shirt because I think you guys would kill that design. I'm sure you got tons of ideas for The Conjuring. I mean, how could you not?
It would be cool. The other thing about The Conjuring, don't forget, is you're dealing with people that we probably can't use their likeness on. Like the nun, we can because it's her, right. It's the makeup. But we couldn't use Patrick Wilson or Vera on those Conjuring shirts. So we wouldn't be able to use them. I know for a fact we wouldn't be able to use them.
Yeah, you're really limited to Annabelle, the nun, the bendy man. What do they call? I always forget his name, but he's my favorite guy.
I forgot too. But
the crooked man, the crooked man. I love that character. That was one of like the scariest scenes of like when he comes out of the box finally and he chases the kid down the hall. I can imagine what you guys would do with that.
And I would love to play in that sandbox. I mean, listen, Bonnie Aarons actually is a customer of ours. Like she's bought from us before, and I've hung out with her at a convention once. Like we saw each other like in a lobby, and we talked for a while. She's great, and I would love to. I'm like, I want to do a nun shirt, but we got to go through Warner Brothers, and so I'm hoping someday, and I'm hoping when it does happen, we have a little bit of ability to do some artistically interesting things. I do know that Friday the 13th is still a little bit weird in terms of
the is like always in lawsuits.
It's because it goes back and forth.
Yeah, that one's like always in litigation. I know the game, they have a big problem with that now. I think they just settled that. So I can imagine you not having Friday the 13th because that one's always kind of odd.
Yeah, and I know that there was the issue with that with Nightmare for a little while too because of the ownership of Fred Krueger with Craven's estate. And I don't know how that was resolved and what happened. I just remember that being a thing at some point. I don't know any details, but so yeah, but even without those two, as much as I would kill to have both of those characters to work with, the other properties that Warner Brothers have, I know even with their limitations, I know we could do some really cool stuff with. So
for real.
Here's hoping, but we've got a few new things coming out next year. We've just signed a new license today, actually, for a couple properties that would be fun to do next year. We've got a bunch of other like lesser. Well, I don't want to say lesser. That's not a good word. Like definitely like more cult classic type films as opposed to something like grandiose scale. You know what I mean?
Right.
But movies that I love. Actually, next year we're celebrating the anniversary of a lot of anniversaries for films that we have the rights to, but one in particular we just got back that we had a while ago, years ago. But I don't want to give anything away, but it's the 40th anniversary to a slasher film that's probably one of my favorites. And I cannot wait to work with this film again because
it's probably Sleepaway Camp.
No.
It's not. Oh, man.
We have 2 and 3. We don't have part 1. I'd love to do part 1 at some point, but
a slasher that's 40. All right, I'll do the math on one. I'll do the math off the air. I got to see.
But we are doing, other anniversary stuff next year. We're doing Creepshow and RoboCop is the 35th. And Poltergeist, we're probably gonna do something for that next year as well. So there's a few other things. So we definitely still have some things that we even couldn't get to this year that we had to push off to next year because this year was packed. Like,
dude, I don't know how, again, with your patience, because how you have all this stuff on the pipeline for a year, you're like, I can't say anything about this and I can't say anything about that. I'm like, I could never have all that stuff. That's so cool.
It's exciting. And what I know is like, well, again, I hope, because you never know, you never really know, but I hope that these things are going to be like, it's anticipation. Like I'm excited for it, but I also temper it with, I just don't know how it's going to do. So I want to make sure the timing on everything is right, at least subjectively to me, right, in terms of when we talk about it, when we release it, because sometimes too early, you can let the cat out of the bag too early and then it loses its thing, or then you just get constant questions about something that it's like, we're 9 months away from releasing. It's like, you know what I mean?
And you could probably a lawsuit too, right, on some of them?
Well, maybe, yeah, in some cases there could be. I mean, there's definitely issues. Yeah. So, so I just, it's, again, my excitement is tempered with, I just want to make sure that we are putting our, like, I already had a meeting with, Tansky's our production manager, but I set out I do these little like cards that I write down like properties on and what we want to do. And I lay them out, and we literally laid out, we sat there for a couple hours laying out the entire 2022 like release schedule every week. Oh
my God. I would kill to see that picture.
There was like at least because we don't usually do a lot of releases in December, but there was definitely, well, here's the thing. We had every week planned, and we still had a stack of cards left over of stuff that we hadn't even gotten to yet. Woo! And that will all change too, because of new licenses coming in, or something happens, or things that will all change. But again, for me personally, I need to have at least a framework of all of that to look at and go, okay, does this make sense? Should we be moving this? And of course, there's timelines for production, like lounge pants or hats or all these other things we do. Some things take literally 5 months. Like there's a hat release we have coming up in November that we've been working on since, I think I have emails going back to like April, May, with designs. Those won't even be out until next month. We've already got releases for early next year that we've already got in the pipeline. There's other things that are a shorter pipeline. It's a lot. It's a lot.
That's a lot of plates.
It is a lot of plates. And again, I'm very fortunate to have such great people on the team to help, because I mean, it's in terms of those, it's usually I like taking that role of looking at everything and moving it around, but then Tansky will take that and put it into our spreadsheets that we can work on, and he can talk to the artists, he can get that stuff approved. Joe can work on stuff for the website and work on ads and things. And then I've got, Heather and Jess and Eric filling all the orders, because all the orders that are coming in, but then I've got Liz and Kimmy doing customer service, and Kimmy handling all the sales reports. Because don't forget, when you sell licensed products, you have to give reports every quarter for everything you sell. And so that's not easy. She spends a month to a month and a half at the end of every quarter it has to be done within the month, but still balancing the books and then reporting on every single, we have over 65 licenses or something like that, like 70 licenses. It's a lot.
I got a headache just thinking about looking at the computer for that long doing those sheets.
Yeah, and she is chained to that computer like every quarter, in addition to everything else she does. So
shout out to
everybody
Kimmy.
Has a role that and I'm very lucky that the people in those roles are the right people. And it's not about just a job for them. It's like they are so passionate about this company and what they do that it's just about honestly managing energy than it is trying to motivate anybody. I don't have to motivate anybody. Everybody wants to do the best they can do. I just need to make sure that they have a place, an environment, and the right tools and the right environment for them to work in there, and then I get out of their way and I say, okay, you guys got it. Like, so that's
the real sign of a good boss, if you know how to like set shit up and then get out of the way. You know what I mean?
And I try as best I can. I don't like to micromanage, but at the same time, I tend to sometimes just want to do things and then I'll get in the way, because
I hear that.
When I see something, I'm just going to get it done. Like I just do it. And then I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. That probably should have been that person. And then I didn't communicate with that person. And then I screwed it up because I was the bottleneck. Right. So I try to get out of the way as much as possible. It's just I'm very incredibly fortunate to have the people I do, because again, this doesn't all work with just me. You know what I mean? This is not just me. This is so many people involved, between everyone who works with me full time, which is everybody, and then the artists, and you know what I mean? Like it's such a team thing that it's not just me doing this. Like it's so much more than that. And I'm blessed that they are wanting, because things like customer service, that's a thankless job. Like we have amazing, amazing customers, but then just like any company has, you have people that feel incredibly entitled and they will say the rudest things to you over email. And it's unfair, but you can't control it.
Even Fright-Rags gets it. That's unbelievable.
Oh yeah. We get it. And it's, you can't take that kind of badgering every day and not feel that. Or, again, going to the orders and influx of orders, trying to make sure that those all get out and on time and all this stuff. That's a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of work, and we've grown exponentially over the last year and a half. Like,
congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we didn't expect it. and I know other companies have also grown as well during this pandemic. But where we were at the end of 2019 and where we're at right now is, in terms of business, is drastically different. And we've been able to manage that with only the addition of one other person to our team.
Wow.
Which, again, speaks volumes to the people that are on our team, because they were able to handle it, so it's almost like fast forwarding, where we maybe would have gotten to this point in 5 years, but it got condensed to like a year and a half. It's crazy.
That's wild. Yeah. That's crazy. So, have you ever, you seem like you have a great team. Have you ever had to fire anybody before?
It's happened. There's been a couple people that, over the last few years, it hasn't been a lot, thankfully. But it's just, especially the type of people that I have, I've been very blessed that they've come into my world, if you will, in the right times, right? And everybody that I have on my team, I've known for a certain period of time. Not, some longer than others. Some I've known because of Fright-Rags. Some I've known for longer and not because of Fright-Rags. There were a couple people earlier on that were right at the time, but they weren't able to grow and evolve as the company did. And it just wasn't, they couldn't fulfill the role as it grew.
Got it.
Again, luckily, the people I have now have been able, especially again, the past 18 months, or more now, been able to grow and evolve. Now, there's growing pains for sure. There are growing pains within that. It has not been like the smoothest thing, because it was coming at us so quickly, in addition to a global pandemic that we're all worried about and trying to make sure we're all, safe and healthy. And now we're dealing with the abundance of business, which again, I'm very fortunate and blessed to, but it was hard, for everybody in the world. But I mean, just our team, it was hard. And it's been a process, but I think we've really, especially this year, gotten to a rhythm. I didn't expect this year to kick off the way it did. Last year was one thing. Going into 2021, I thought, okay, things will even out. Because
last year was your biggest year in business, right? And then this year topped it like already.
We've already topped it.
Nice.
We topped it by the end of September.
Congrats.
So thanks. It's been nuts. So we've been able to manage to deal with the growth, and again, having the right people. But when a person doesn't fit the job anymore because it grew so much, and again, this was in the last, it's been several years at this point. So we've had who we have now for a while, and that's great. And I feel like our communication and things are much smoother. And yeah, there's always gonna be hiccups. There's always gonna be disagreements. There's always gonna be things that we have to, just deal with. But it's funny because all of those things that happen, 99 times out of 100, it's because we all care so damn much.
Right? I can imagine.
It's not disagreements or arguments over like who's right or wrong. I can't describe it. It's literally over the business in terms of us caring about it and wanting what's right for it. And again, I would have those arguments all day, as opposed to me yelling at someone or whatever, not yelling, but like, you're not doing your job right, or you're screwing up, or you're coming into work late, or whatever. I don't have any of that.
No?
And no.
That's great.
No.
Here, that's all that happens here. We're always fighting about who's right, who's late, who's too early. Let me ask you, since you're a boss, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to deal with this stuff. How do I deal with insubordination? Because you've laid down the gavel, you said once or twice. How do I deal with insubordination in my organization? It's tons of it. It's rampant here. It's crazy. How should I handle these people?
You have to remember that you can't motivate somebody. They have to motivate themselves.
Some of them are too motivated in areas that I don't like. We need to unmotivate them a little bit.
Okay, so you have to steer the energy. You have to manage the energy. Okay. And then you also,
I'll write that down.
You have to understand, everybody wants something different. Everybody has different.
Here, the show's called Great Knows Best. So when you come here, they have to want what I want. They have to want what I want.
Well,
I'll write the first one down. I can't write that one down.
They got it. But okay, here's the thing.
Energy.
People, you have to understand what they want, so you can get them there in the way that you want them to get there.
A mind game.
It's not, I don't want to say mind game because that sounds manipulative and nefarious, and it's not.
We could be, but we could do that.
You have to understand where those people are coming from, what their background is, why are they coming at you in this way, and then meet them there, and then deal with it there. Because if you're just coming at them with what you've got inside you, you're not doing a good job listening to them and understanding where they're coming from. And everyone's different. Everyone's got different backgrounds. Everyone's got different personalities. Everyone handles things differently. And so I think that is the key. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I always strive to understand. It's like, okay, if this person has an issue, what's the underlying thing that issue is presented itself? That's not something that I would have an issue with, but they clearly do. So I need to get to the root of that problem. Because I'll tell you, when you have buy-in from people that work with you, that they all come to the same conclusion in their own way, but it's the same thing. That's when you have the best version of your team possible, because everyone is sitting in the room coming to the same conclusion that you've already come to in their own way. Now you're unstoppable. Now you're all unified, and you can go out and do it.
That's what I need.
So,
right there.
But it's finding a way to get everybody to get there. Now, again, I haven't luckily had to do a ton of that, but there's certain things that I know when I present to the team, because here's the other thing about my team. They will give it to me straight. No chaser.
I know that. We know that around here.
They're coming at me like, I don't agree with you. That is like they get pissed at me sometimes if I say something that they don't agree with, but I want that. I'd rather that than them be afraid of telling me because they're afraid that I'm going to yell at them. No, there's none of that. Now, I might not agree with them, and we might have a little bit of a back and forth, a little bit of a row, right? But it will always end in some sort of understanding. Even if we don't always agree, it'll always end in some understanding, and always end. It up till now has always ended in a way that I feel like both parties, whoever's involved, me and the other person, are like, cool. You know?
Let me tell you, this is me speaking to the people that work here right now, so don't worry, Ben. You need to be on my wavelength, okay? We're not gonna take Ben's advice here, so don't listen to Ben. Listen to me, okay? You need to come here. All that stuff about your background, we don't care about that. You come here, it's whatever I need. That's what we do, and that's it. That's as long as we get that straight, we're fine. So we don't care about none of that other stuff, okay? Leave that at the door. Your own opinions, leave it at the door. It's done. I wrote down steer energy. I will do that. Everything else I can't promise.
All right. Well, hey, you know what?
I got one gem. Everything else, it's my show. It's my way. No.
All right, man. Well, hey, good luck with that. I hope it works out well for you.
No, I'm just fucking around.
That gets you what you want.
I'm just fucking around. But I did want to ask, in case the podcast doesn't work out, right? Listen, I moved up closer there. So if anything really bad happens, this ship goes down not because of me. It won't go down because of me. It'll go down because of other people. It will never be because of me. But let's say other people make mistakes and this shuts down, right? I need a fallback plan, right? So, I mean, what are the chances of me getting in the organization if something goes awry? Like, I don't know what you need. So I will tell you that I could sweep and I can also draw a little bit. So check this out. I drew a pumpkin here. I don't know if you can put this on a shirt.
Love it. Yeah, you know what? That's going to be our next big seller. Put a knife through it and put Halloween Kills at the bottom. And we got our new limited edition gritty Halloween Kill shirt. So you're good to go. So
you think that'll work?
Yeah.
So you're saying that if this indeed does go awry, I don't
want to make any guarantees.
I got somewhere to go. This is the new shirt.
That's solid. That's solid work for.
Now you see how quick I drew that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not gonna throw. I'm just saying. I don't know if you have anybody that quick, but I could be.
If I give you an hour, that's gonna be a masterpiece. So I mean, you're off to a good start.
I'll give you a whole line in an hour. Forget about one shirt. I'll give you a whole line. Listen, it was great having you on the show. Thanks for the advice. I took none of it, but thanks for the advice.
It's all good.
What do you have coming out that we can? I know you got stuff for like 6 years backed up, but what could we look forward to in the next coming months?
So I know we've already announced it, but we've got people under the stairs tomorrow, which is Tuesday, the 19th. We've got Trick or Treat coming up this Friday, as you mentioned before. We've got more Universal Monsters coming up next week with Dracula and Wolfman, celebrating the 80th of Wolfman and the 90th Dracula.
Beautiful.
In addition to a bunch of socks. We have coming up in November, we actually have something that we haven't even announced yet, so I can talk about this like real quick, is Tom Savini is celebrating his 75th birthday, so we are doing a tribute shirt for him in the same vein of the George Romero and the Stephen King and the Jim Carpenter, you know, those tribute shirts. So, and we did talk to him about it, and he was totally cool with it. And that's coming out on November 3rd. That's his birthday, so that'll be out. That will be already printed. It's not going to be a pre-order, primarily because we've got Black Friday coming up. It's going to be busy, so we needed to make sure we you know, we could fill those orders in addition to what we, you know, have coming on Black Friday. We've got a hat release, so some new hats coming out for different properties. And and you know, Krampus is coming out again.
Love that.
In December will be pretty quiet. You know, I don't think we have any major releases planned for December because we're going to be planning on filling Black Friday orders. And then we always take 2 weeks off at the end of the year. Usually about we can have 2 weeks off at the end of the year, shut down, because you know what, you need time to just not work and be with family. And I
was going to ask if you ever take a beat. Yeah,
I mean, listen, I want people to take the vacation they need, because you got to get recharged. You know, I don't want people burning out. And the nice thing about, I mean, we have holiday or vacations during the year that people take, so we're always kind of, you know, someone might be on vacation this week, someone might be next week, whatever. But so there's those times that people can take. But at the end of the year, I started this, I don't know when I started this. It's been a few years, but I'm just like, you know what? This is crazy. We got to shut down for 2 weeks, because if we don't, no one wants to work between Christmas and New Year's anyway. No work gets done between Christmas and New Year's. No real work gets done. Mm-hmm. If you don't put the brakes on yourself, no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to tell us to take a break. The world, everybody will always demand from you, so you have to know where to put up the barriers. So for me, I said, listen, Christmas and New Year's, and again, the last few years, at least the last couple of years, it's been 2 full weeks because of the way Christmas falls. I don't want to be like out on a Tuesday and back, and screw it. Just take 2 weeks. 2 weeks, shut down. Everyone goes home. Everyone gets paid, so they don't have to worry about issues with, oh, now I got to take vacation. No, just you're getting paid. We shut down because it's important for me, for them, and myself as well, because I shut down too, to not do any work, to just have time, again, with your family, with your friends, whatever you want to do, because we're going to get back to it in January. It starts over again. The clock resets, the calendar resets, and before you know it, you're back in the thick of it. So if you don't take that time when you can, especially around the holidays, especially after Black Friday, and then having to do year-end inventory and do all of these things and all these things you got to wrap up, if you don't stop and take a breath, you're going to burn out. And I'm just like, listen, like, this is like an enforced policy in our company. Like the doors get shut. And it's funny because, again, this is how great my team is. We'll be texting each other over the break or like towards the end. Like, I can't wait to get back to work. Like, I'll get those texts. Like, I can't wait to get back in on Monday. I can't wait to do this. You wouldn't have that if they couldn't have the time. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe I would. I mean, people are so dedicated, but you gotta do that, because I've been in companies where you had to come to your work the day after Christmas, and I'm just like, wow, that's the last thing I want to do. So, so, you know, it's my company. I get to do what I want. So like I say, everyone gets 2 weeks off.
Right. It's the boss. That's right. Yeah, we talk a lot about taking breaks and burnout, especially when you're doing creative stuff. It's different than just like assembling something. You know, that's what you guys do, a lot of creative work. So it's very important to take that break. We've learned that both. I mean,
even when they're filling thousands of orders, you know, even like, look, Black Friday is a crazy time. Every single person is in the office filling orders the week after Black Friday, myself included. I'm at a table. I'm grabbing orders. Jess is usually the one that picks them because she could pick them so quickly. And then, and Heather too. And then we sit down and we all have our own desks and areas that we work out of. And everyone's there the entire week filling orders because we want to get them out as quickly as possible. So I actually love that week I can sit there and all I got to focus on. I mean, I have to do my emails, and things that, things come up, but most of the day I'm sitting there with stacks of orders around me. And I love it because it feels like it did when I first started this company and I was the one filling all the orders. So now I'll recognize the name and I'll write a little note on the order, or I'll throw something else in there just for the heck of it. And you physically see it. It's not just numbers on a screen or this or that. You are so connected. You are putting the shirt in the bag. You are seeing the print. You're seeing everything. And it's good for me personally to do that every once in a while, because you just get that tactile connection to what you're actually doing.
Getting back to your roots a little bit there.
Yeah. It's like going back to the roots a little bit. Yeah. It's fun. And I love it. Actually, I look forward to it every year, even though it's a lot of work. I mean, thousands and thousands of orders that we all have to fill. And sometimes it's so crazy because you're like, oh my God, there's still this many orders left to go. And you're like, whew, we'll come in on a Saturday and get pizza and do it too. And but it's gratifying when it's all over.
Let me ask you this. I have a thought before we end this. Okay. How do you feel about this? Because you said you make policies and stuff. I make a lot of policies too. I'm thinking about this one. I take a break for like a month, but everybody else works. And then I come back and see what they did, but they don't take a break. What do you think about that?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? Well, again, sorry guys. Ben's not the boss here.
You need a break for sure, but everybody needs a break. Like,
I'll give him a week.
It's funny though. You said that early on. This is when there was only like maybe 2 or 3 people working with me. I would take the week between Christmas and New Year's off myself, and they would still be working and filling orders. Not to say that they couldn't take it off. It was just we was just like they had obviously Christmas Day off, and I think the day before or whatever. But they would still be working, and I felt guilty because I'm thinking to myself, why don't they just why don't we just do this as a thing? Mm-hmm. And you almost think, because it's, again, prior history with companies that I've been with and other things, you carry that with you. So you just kind of do what you've known. Right. And I stopped one moment and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to do whatever I want. And it doesn't mean because it's been done other places, I have to continue to do it here. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the traditions or whatever. I at least started a tradition. That's one of the things that I broke from what I had before, because I'm like, I need to, again, you have to lead with your values. And for me personally, I just value making sure that people that work with me are doing it because they want to, not because it's just some job. And part of doing that is making sure they get what they want. And part of that is time. You want time with people. And again, the funny thing is, as Americans, we have this work policy of 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, blah, 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 blah. And you start realizing going, well, why is that a thing? And just because it's been like that for however many years, does it have to stay that way? So I'm very much like, as long as your work is getting done, I don't really care. I really don't. I don't want people slacking off, but I will know if they slacked off, if the work isn't getting done, if sales reports weren't going out on time, if approvals weren't happening, if orders weren't going out. So you got to treat people like adults. As long as they come to you as adults and people you can trust, that's the other thing. You got to trust the people you're with. That's why our group is so small and tight, because everybody I look around and go, I trust every single one of you implicitly, so I can be very much more free about how we handle things. If I had a bunch of idiots on my team that I just had to motivate, it would be like time cards and all this stuff. But I don't want that. I didn't start a company so I had people that I had to enforce these policies on. Forget it. I don't want that. That's not why I got into business. I got in business to sell horror shirts, have fun. Yes, there's a lot of work and there's a lot of things that we have to do that are policy, whatever. But I want the people that come there to feel like I do. I know I'm the owner, but I want them to feel connected to it. So I do everything I can. I hope I do as much as I can that they feel that way.
Well, let me tell you, I trust everybody that works here, but they do act like children. So,
well,
so do I. But so do I. Listen, Ben, it was great having you here.
Thanks,
and
man.
Let me also tell you that, listen, if you happen, I know you guys go to a lot of those, what do you call it, the horror conventions.
Mm-hmm,
if somehow there's a few nun shirts or crooked men shirts that end up getting sold out of a trunk, I'm not saying nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I don't know nothing about it. So I'm sure everybody feels the same way. So if I see the Fright-Rags van with a few of them jumping out of it, I'll pay a little extra.
Have in my trench coat. I'll open up and be like, "What do you want? None over here."
I'll throw you 35 for a little extra for the risk. We talked about calculated risk earlier. Come on, we got to. But listen, you can find me at It's Gritty Bitch on Instagram and Twitter. You can also go to the Gritty World YouTube channel. Go to the Gritty Knows Best YouTube channel and the Gritty Knows Best Instagram. Ben, do you have anything you want to say? Plug.
Just thanks for having me on again, and thanks for anybody who got it this far and listened to me ramble on. And you can follow us at Fright-Rags on Instagram and Twitter. www.fright-rags.com is the website, and sign up for our newsletter. You can get SMS texts or emails about all the new releases and things we got coming up. So just stay tuned. We got a lot in store.
They got great stuff. Got a lot of good stuff in store now. A lot of good stuff in store to come. Make sure you check out that the Trick or Treat on Friday. So everybody go check that out because that shit looks nice. All right. Thanks. Peace and love. See you guys next time.